Boxing Ego here. If you like this video, make sure you hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon on the top of your screen to get notified when the latest new content drops. 1. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you guys like and subscribe to the channel for the latest and greatest, my thoughts, all that good stuff. We got some originals, exclusives. Boxing Ego, the future. Now, James Degale, he fought Badu Jack in January, and it was a Fight of the Year nominee. They just went at it. I mean, I never really recall seeing a fight where somebody actually lost their front teeth in the fight. Like, I've seen street fights and stuff like that, and aftermath. I think Mike Tyson might have had a street fight and knocked dude's tooth out, but Mitch Green, I think it was. But I never really seen it in a 12-round sanctioned championship bout at a high level, right? And that's what happened. But from what I hear, Degale already had false teeth or something like that. But still, it's still, you don't expect that. Floyd Mayweather in the ring talking, and James Degale's like slurring, like, I won, that's rubbish. You know what I mean? He was like slurring because people don't understand having teeth. It helps you with your enunciation and stuff. Like, your tongue, when people, that's why people talk all crazy when they're missing teeth, because your tongue can just move more freely because there's just an open space or gap. Just a little side note. So your teeth helps with your speech and your enunciation, and we take things like that for granted because most of us have teeth. Shout out to Obi Trice, gotta have teeth. Now, shout out to the Daily Mail as well. They conducted an article and interview, and James Degale's talking about a June comeback in making a super fight in London. And the list of names that he said he believes he will be fighting in June were Gennady Golovkin, Caleb Smith, Andre Ward, or George Groves. Now, all of those are great fights. I don't know. This is just, I'm going off of an article and an interview with James Degale. So I don't have any further insight as far as the likelihood, because there's some different variables. But let me get to what he said, and then I'll just wrap up with what I think. James Degale said, I would love to fight Caleb Smith because he's the new young man on the rise who a lot of people seem to think could beat me. But I don't, and it would please me to prove them wrong. Ward, like Golovkin, is among those quoted as the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. It would be an honor to share a ring with him, and just as I could go down for Gennady, I could go up to light heavyweight for Andre Ward. So he says he's willing to come down for Golovkin, right? Come down to 160. And I never heard him say that particularly, but I guess that's what he's saying. He's saying, like, my walk around weight is not even, he says he's like just barely bigger than super middleweight in terms of what he walks around at. So he's not tripping about coming down to fight Gennady Golovkin at 160. He says, Golovkin, I walk around less than a stone above the super middleweight limit and could easily go down to fight this great man for the middleweight title. Right? So I want to know what you guys think. Definitely put that in the comments section. I know boxing is a sport of what have you done for me lately, and with that being said, a lot of people tend to become a bit radical. You know what I mean? They look at performances like, for example, Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade, top-notch quality fighter. He didn't necessarily look great in his last fight versus Jack Kukule. Maybe he had jet lag. Maybe he underestimated him. I don't know. But it wasn't his strongest performance. It wasn't the Willie Nelson performance or Vanas, anything like that. So people are judging him off of that. They're putting aside everything. Now, with James Degale, you got to keep in mind, he had a tough fight, and I thought he almost got stopped in the 12th round, the final round, got his teeth knocked out, but he's still a quality fighter. People bring up, oh, he lost to George Groves, but things change. You know what I mean? If James Degale were to fight George Groves at this point, I would probably favor him, because since that point when they fought, Carl Froch knocked him out twice, and he had tough fights with Martin Murray and stuff like that. So things have happened. Badu Jack beat George Groves. So you got to really break down the sport of boxing. I understand, what have you done for me lately, and you're only as good as your last performance. But I think James Degale, I mean, he's still undefeated and he's a quality fighter. That being said, people are going to immediately say, oh, Golovkin will kill him, Golovkin will destroy him. But those same people are most likely some of the same people that were complaining and griping that Daniel Jacobs was coming in too heavy. He was coming in, or he didn't do the same day weigh-in or whatever with the IBF, and they said, oh, he's a light heavyweight, he's a cruiserweight. Well, guess what? James Degale competes at light heavyweight, and he can hold his own. Whether you thought he won or lost, I personally had Badou Jack winning his fight, but I still realized that it was a fight of halves and it was a close fight, right? It wasn't like a landslide for Badou Jack. I just had him winning. I thought he edged it. I thought he picked up the pace mid to late, and they traded knockdowns and stuff like that. So it was a good fight. So I think I knew this time was coming. Golovkin's last two performances, he looked more human. You can say, oh, but he broke Kell Brooks' eye socket. That's true, but in doing that, he still looked more human. He still got hit with uppercuts and stuff. And definitely the Daniel Jacobs, I told you guys, Golovkin is a good fighter, but he's not this mythical unicorn-like minotaur creature, centaur or something, where he's incapable of defeat or being hurt like HBO is trying to bill him as. That's cool. This your fighter. You want to promote him and stuff like that. But I've always seen that. And I think the Daniel Jacobs fight illustrated that, because it is no mystery to me as a real life boxing analyst and someone who is a lover of the sport. It's no mystery that the best name with the most intangibles and attributes to offset what Golovkin does well, and the most momentum that Golovkin has faced as a pro, it's no mystery that he gave him his toughest fight, because you are in there with somebody who has some good size to him, has power you must respect, has an amateur pedigree, is athletic, and has beaten cancer and bounced back from a knockout loss to become a champion. So AKA the motherfucker got heart, and that was Daniel Jacobs, and we seen that. So to me, it was just all a matter of fighting that type of person. And if you really go down Golovkin's resume, I really don't think anybody had the type of momentum and the attributes that Daniel Jacobs has, which is why that was his toughest fight, to his own team, Abel Sanchez and Golovkin's own admission, period. I was there. I covered the fight live from New York. I was at the Garden. Your boy was at Nassau at the Garden. You know what I mean? I was there. And it was a good fight. Even if you had Golovkin winning, it was still his toughest fight. Point blank, period. Right? And that's what it is. So I think a lot of these fighters are seeing that, okay, Golovkin can't be hurt. I do give it to Golovkin. He's a good fighter. I really like his jab, just like Kovalev. Very good jab, very strong punch. And Golovkin, for the record, has a man-style chin. I call it like I see, and I give fair criticism and fair assessments of these fighters. But again, Golovkin is not this minotaur where he's unbeatable. That's why they're trying to like coin Golovkin as the most avoided person, but he's clearly not that, because there are people like Demetrius Andrade, there are people like Edeslandi Lara, Guillermo Rigondeaux, and they don't bring the name and the accolades maybe and the same type of money, but nobody really wants to fight them. And you definitely don't have, name somebody, okay, Rigondeaux fights at what, 122? Name somebody from 126 that says, hey, you know what, I'll come down and I'll face you, Rigondeaux. I'm the bigger man, I'm gonna come down and weight, you know what I mean? Probably have to diet harder and maybe even kill myself a little bit to make weight and fight you, Rigondeaux. It's on. Or people moving up. You don't see Chocolatito saying, hey, I'm at 115 now, I'll move up to 122 and I'll fight you, right? But when you look at Golovkin, what happened? Kell Brook, he's like, I'm a welterweight, but you know what I mean? That'll give me a break on the diet. I'll move up and fight this undefeated Golovkin, right? Now you have James Degale who's saying, I'm at 168, I'm a super middle, but I'm not the biggest guy ever, so I'll come down 8 pounds to fight Golovkin. You know what I'm saying? You don't really see that. You don't see that with other people that I know are avoided, like Rigondeaux, like Demetrius Andrade. Name someone from 160 that says, you know what, Demetrius Andrade, I'm at 160, you're next. I'll come down to you. Who said that? Nobody. Nobody's saying that. Or no cruiserweights are saying, you know what, Luis King Kong Ortiz, I'll come up and fight you. I ain't afraid of you. You don't really see that. You don't see people leaving their division to fight those guys. But with Golovkin, we're seeing it more and more, and I think that's, I mean, take it for what it's worth. So I like what James Degale is saying and what he's doing. I think all of those are quality fights. Now, like, I'm gonna go one by one and kind of break down the fights. Golovkin, I really don't think that is gonna be likely for June, and the reason being is because Golovkin's in between a rock and a hard place. Billy Joe Saunders is like taunting him and saying sign the contract by Friday, grow some balls, and that's the missing link to Golovkin becoming undisputed champion at middleweight, right? So he might go there. But then Oscar De La Hoya is saying, hey, if you fight Joe Saunders in June, the Canelo September fight is off the table because we need ample time to promote. So those are two options kind of at his weight division already that probably bring more money to Golovkin, and they're already a little bit more ready-made, even though Canelo Golovkin's been hard to make so far. The other person, Caleb Smith, I think he's a WBC mandatory for Anthony Durrell, and they're supposed to fight for Badu Jack's vacant belt or something like that, or for the #1 spot, or whatever they're doing with that. But I know he's ranked high within the WBC, and I think they might scrap, Anthony Durrell and him might scrap for the WBC. And as you guys know, Anthony Durrell was the former holder of the WBC, so he's ranked too, even though he lost to Badu Jack. So I don't really see Caleb Smith hopping out of line for a title shot to fight against James Degale, who's also a champion. He has the IBF belt, but it just, I don't know. I don't know if he's in line for a WBC fight against Anthony Durrell, who's had a loss. He lost to Badu Jack. I don't know if he would lose his spot within the WBC for the green belt. Everyone loves the green belt, respects the green belt, to fight James Degale, who also has a loss and is coming off of a draw. But I don't know. Andre Ward, that's another one. I'm not really sure. Not really sure if it can happen, even though he says he can come up to 75, just because I don't know what's happening with the Kovalev Ward rematch. Kovalev saying he signed a notary and the conditions from Rock Nation, so that fight might happen. There is a rematch clause there, so I don't know if that fight can happen, even though James Degale is saying he'll move up. But I do like the options. I mean, maybe boxing will surprise me. I've been surprised, pleasantly surprised, thankfully, this year with some great matches being made, and I look forward to it. I think James Degale, he's an entertaining fighter. I think he does have some lapses, certain fights, like I think his fight with Lucien Bute and also his fight with Badu Jack. He fights a weird game plan, you know what I mean, to me, and he does some things that make for exciting fights, but I don't know if he's always fighting the super smart fight for his style. And either way, I like it. I don't think James Degale versus Golovkin is a runaway. Even if Golovkin's the favorite, I think that's a good fight. I mean, we're talking about Golovkin, a silver medalist, and James Degale, a gold medalist, who's also a champion. I don't know how he'll perform at that weight because he's been at 168, so I don't know if he can drop 8 pounds comfortably and come into Golovkin's world like that. But we'll see. You know what I mean? You never really know. But the fact that Golovkin was challenged with the guy with athleticism, amateur background, and respectable power, you'd have to give a lot of those same attributes to James Degale. He definitely has power, right? He has a gold medal in the Olympics, represented Britain, and in addition to that, he's athletic, and he uses some footwork and some angles and stuff like that. So that style-wise could be problematic. And I have to say, James Degale showed that he's tough. He's not been stopped. He fought Andre Durrell, who I rate, who Golovkin lost to and beat in the amateurs. And James Degale, he just showed his grit. I mean, even that 12th round, he looked like he was badly hurt, and he was still fighting and still managed to escape the Badu Jack fight on standing up. So I think that could be a hell of a fight, to be honest. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. Let me know what you guys think of James Degale. Who do you want to see him fight in the UK? But I definitely want to see him come back in June. I think he's an exciting enough fighter, and he can make things interesting. George Groves seems like, out of the four, seems like the most likely candidate to me, but we'll see. I'll keep you guys updated. Drop in the comment section. Make sure you share the video, like the video as always. Hate, comment, and subscribe. Till next video is Ego signing off. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxing Ego, the future of boxing.